All right, so my name is Omar Choudary, and I am the CEO of Illumined Minds company. I will be introducing ourselves slightly more in just a few minutes. So we are here to present you a little bit more about our competition. I imagine that's why you came, so I hope it will be a useful experience for you. Right, so let's start. In short, we are a young team. You've seen some of my colleagues here, like Nabiga, her sister, Amar, and we started this company about last year in order to continue the Bebras competition here in Pakistan. I was part of this competition since 2016, so for quite a long time right now. But this competition was previously organized by my father, and I wanted to continue this competition after my father died in 2023. So I'm trying to continue at the same level of excellence as my father used to do it before. This is the team. You can see us here. So besides Amar, Rose, and other of you see, we also have some members in Romania. So I'm working in Romania most of the time. I'm professor of computer science there at the University Polytechnica, and I have some people also helping me there on the task basis. So when we generate the task for the competition and everything that is related with the technical part, I have quite a good team there helping me. And I will come back to this point about it. So about Bebras, this Bebras competition, it started around 2004 in Lithuania, and the name is actually given by a beaver, which is an animal. You'll see it in many of the tasks in a moment. It's basically an international initiative, so we have members from across all the world. Basically, I think we are about more than 70 countries now, members of this organization. And it's being spread quite a lot. So the numbers have been increasing very much for the past 21 years. Here there is a summary of what happened during the last challenge. So how many people participated in the challenge during this period, November 2024 to April 2025. So we can see that there were about 74 countries involved, among which 56 were full members, meaning that they were already accepted by community and they have been there for quite a time. And 18 provisional members, meaning that they came recently for, let's say, less than 2-3 years, and they just wanted to see what this Bebras is about and try to participate to our international workshop, eventually also becoming a members. And in total, there were this number of participants, meaning the number of students that took the challenge in this period. So almost 4 million students across the world took this challenge. And whether this is the beaver right here, as I mentioned, you will keep seeing. And this is a photo that was taken at one of the latest congresses. This one was in Serbia. And here you can see many of the people involved across the entire world. All right, and about myself, briefly, I already told you that I'm a computer science teacher at the University of Bucharest. I also did my PhD at the University of Cambridge in computer science, in particular regarding the field of security. So my main expertise is computer security. And as I mentioned, I'm continuing basically this as part of what I already started with my father since 2016. Now I would like to tell you a little bit about the advantages of the children participating in Bebras. So you've seen that there are quite a large number of children already participating around the world. And now, maybe for those that don't know too much about what is the usefulness of this, first of all, you get access to this international community, meaning that there's a sort of international level of the questions. So all the members are highly skilled in computer science. Many of them are professors like me, or maybe they are very experienced, let's say, in computer science engineering or something like that. Some of them also come from government organizations that are involved in the education in that particular country. For example, from Germany, there is the Ministry of Education, which is directly involved in participation in Bebras. So they have a special representative that then spreads the results of Bebras across the country. And this happens in many other countries. So the government is directly involved in contributing and intaking the results of Bebras. So that's one thing. Then we also, of course, we give some recognition to all the students in terms of certificates, medals, awards, and so on. So they get something themselves. But also this year, I am going to give a sort of special incentive to the children. And that is, I'm going to give my personal recommendation to the top 10 students. So after the competition, we're going to select among the best students from the top levels, so among ninth grade onwards. And for those, I'm going to give a personal recommendation after a personal interview. So this is to give you a sort of extra motivation for why this will help you, your students in your schools. Now, for teachers, why would you be helpful for you as teachers? Well, again, we get access to this international community, so questions from all the international competitions. Then, of course, we are also going to get some recognition certificates we give to the teachers. And very important, I think you're going to get access to these training materials. So all the questions will be available for you, and we are also going to give you questions from previous years. I don't know if Amar already told you, but you received the tag, this one with the competition. If you point your phone at the QR code over there, you're going to get access to all the past previous questions from Bebras. So that's, let's say, the bonus from that tag. Okay, you get all the questions from our competition. Now, just a summary of our challenge during the past year. We had 2 students obtaining the maximum score, which is not necessarily easy because some of the tasks are quite difficult and we have a limited time for this. So I think the fact that they got the maximum number of points is quite astonishing. So that was a very interesting thing. We get medals to top 3 scorers. So the top 3 scores, not just the 100%, but we took the top 3 scores. And all the students that took these 3 scores, we gave them medals. And then maybe this year we'll extend slightly this, so we give to more students. Then we also gave us, of course, the pursuit certificates, but we also gave some cash prize to the top scorers so that they have some nice recognition for their achievements. And some other prizes we gave to each school so that they receive something on the top places, even if they were not the top among the entire competition, but just to give something to each school, we also gave to them something. And I take the occasion, I don't know if people are here from these schools, but to give us special thanks to these schools that were with us during our first year organizing the competition. So we had Beacon House, Hutchinson College, FJ schools in particular. Hopefully I'm not missing anyone important that was just at the beginning. But this were there. Okay. Now, what is the plan for the remaining part of the session? Is that I'm going to go through a few concepts that are related to computer science, and I'm just going to give a very brief presentation. So my presentation will not be about computer science itself. I think most of you are here computer science teachers, so you'll probably know these topics. But I'm going to focus on how Bebras tasks are related to these computer science topics. So I'm just going to introduce the topic a little bit, and then we are going to look at tasks from Bebras that apply to that particular topic. So I divided the presentation in 2 parts. The first part, for the remaining hour, we are going to look at basic things in computer science like sorting, lists, graphs, so data structures and algorithms basically. And then we are going to have a small break. And after the break, I'll choose some of the tasks on some other, let's say, more fancy applications like machine learning, photography, and things like that that have been appearing in Bebras tasks as well. Okay. And one more thing. So what is important about this Bebras task, and we'll come to it again over the next slide, is that generally these tasks in Bebras competition do not require a previous knowledge. So we are not, it's not possible to hear me, Amar? They cannot hear me? Screen is not visible. Screen is not very visible. Maybe put it slightly closer, Amar. Put it closer. Can we check it? No, look here on the phone. So These tasks, in general, as you will see, they do not require previous knowledge of computer science, and this is in purpose so that we are not relying on a particular curriculum or some particular knowledge that maybe one country has and one country doesn't have, and so on. So, and also so that children can focus on the computational thinking part of the task. Or aim, or Bebras aim, is to develop this skill known as computational thinking. So thinking in a computational way about the problem, how to solve this problem. For example, breaking it down into smaller parts, or thinking in terms of an algorithm, like I have to follow a series of steps in order to find a solution, or maybe I have to iterate over all possible combinations and see which one is a good combination, and things like this. So that's why they don't require particular knowledge, for example, how the Dijkstra algorithm works for graphs, or how binary search works. They have to know it in advance, but the task will lead you to do something like these algorithms in one way or another. By the way, before I continue, if you have any questions at some point, just let me know. Okay, we have enough time. So let me know if you have any question and if I should clarify anything at some point. Please. Okay. This is a slide from one of the Bebras directors, mentioning basically what the Bebras task should be. This doesn't mean that all of the Bebras tasks follow this pattern, but it's a rough guideline. So basically, they should be related to computer science in some way, and very important, they should stimulate this computational thinking that I mentioned earlier. This is a very important mention. And they should motivate learning about this, and hopefully open this sort of new knowledge skill for students, which it's not so much done typically in schools. And hopefully they should be short and should be solved within a few minutes. For example, in the competition here in Pakistan, we do about 21 tasks for each age group. So the age groups go between 4th grade, 12th grade, and we're typically divided into 6 groups: 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th and 8th grade, 9th and 10th, and 11th and 12th grade. That's the last level. So if you have 21 questions and some of them are quite difficult, imagine that you cannot spend, let's say, half an hour on a question because you're not going to finish the paper. So that's why they should be relatively short, although some of them are quite more difficult, maybe they will take more than that. So on average, this is the average across the entire paper. And it should be also interesting and fun. You'll see some of them are quite nicely done. Typically, we try to make nice graphics so that they are quite interesting for the students. Okay, now just a few words about computational thinking. So I took the information that I'm putting here from a very nice article that appeared in the communications of the ACM. I'll put at the end the link in a moment. So basically, it's a university of double attitude and skill set, so not just theory or theoretical aspect. And it's interesting that you can look at computational thinking sort of in the middle ground between what humans can do and what machines can do, or machine learning. So what are the limits of each of us? And the main idea is that with computational thinking, we as humans think about how to solve problems using algorithms. And this is the main idea. How we use our brains in order to put the machines to solve tasks in a manner that we design. So we come with the design of the solution, then the machine does all the low-level work for us. So computational thinking involves solving problems and designing systems by drawing on science concepts, and it quite often takes a difficult problem into, let's say, smaller or breaks it apart into more easier problems that we can then maybe solve more easily. And here's a summary of some of those characteristics of computational thinking. So it's about conceptualizing, not about programming. Computer science is about programming. Computational thinking is not about programming, it's about thinking. It's a fundamental skill, not just a side skill or a minor skill, but it's quite a fundamental one. And as I mentioned earlier, it's a way that we think, not the computers. And it interestingly complements and combines mathematical and engineering thinking. So we can see it as a complementary skill to the mathematical and engineering thinking. And that's what Bebras competition is trying to provide, this sort of extra skill for the students. and it's for everyone everywhere. Some takeaway messages from Janet Ming, who is the head of computer science, was the head of computer science department at Management University in 2006. And this paper was published on communication with TCM, is that there are still many intellectually challenging problems to be solved. And for example, even if you do your major in computer science, you can do anything afterwards, because once your mind you developed this computational thinking skill, you can apply it in many other fields. You can apply it in biology, for example. Nowadays, as you know, for example, in biology, there are a lot of algorithms that they are trying to optimize all sorts of things for finding how to complete medicines or other things much faster. In banking, of course, also the financial algorithms and many other fields, avionics, how to design, simulate how the planes will move through the air and so on. So many other aspects in which computer science can be involved. Okay, so now I'm going to start going through some of these concepts and looking at some of the Bebras tasks. I think you received some notepads and some pens, hopefully. Yes, I'm not okay, yes. And so for each task, I will let you think about it for a little bit, and then we'll look at the answer together. So this first part will be about this algorithms and data structure. So let's start with lists. Here we know the list, this data structure typically stores some items in some order. And elements can be by the index and could be implemented as an array or as an linked list or many other things. These are just some general information about this. And we can have things like linked lists, where you see we have a series of nodes, one linked to the other. We could also have things like queues or stacks or other examples that are implemented or associated with a list. Now, here is a task from Bebras that is somehow related to this concept of a list. So it says here that at the Bebras Land Airport, passengers can drop off their bags at any of the three check-in counters. So there are here on the left side these check-in counters, as in the airport when you leave your bag when you're going to get into the plane. So when you check in your bag, sorry. And it says that the operators at the check-in counters will place bags one at a time on the vertical lane. So here, they're going to put these bags one at a time. And as each new bag is placed, the operator presses a button, this on the red one here, to move the bag forward. So basically the bags are moving from north to south, so this direction, from top to bottom. And then when the bag reaches the horizontal lane, this one here, we have these 3 hours on the bottom, it will transfer automatically to the same. So it will transfer here. It doesn't say how or in each order, so this is on purpose, that doesn't mention exactly what happens when we have multiple. All it says that it will transfer them. And the bags on the 3 vertical lanes are shown below. You have them here. And the question is, which option from this four here shows a possible order of the bags on the horizontal lane? So we have several possibilities. We have this here with 7 items, and we have to see which one is the possible correct answer. Respecting the rule, what rule? There are not many rules. The only rule that we know is that they are put in this order, and that basically the student needs to realize what are the constraints here. So I'll let you think for 1 minute, and then I'll move on if you want about this test. Okay. So let me go to the answer of this. You can still think about it, but the main idea is that there are a few constraints here. Actually, very little constraints. The only one is that the bugs are put in a particular order. So here the bugs follow this order, as I mentioned earlier, from top to bottom. Meaning that, for example, on the first counter, it's for sure that the black bug here will go on the line before the green bug. So, for example, answer B is not really possible because we have the green bug before the black bug. So that's not possible. So similar here, we need to have this guitar, the red guitar, before this brown brown line. So we see, for example, again here in B, this doesn't happen. In C also doesn't happen. So C is definitely also not very good because we have a problem. And finally, we have these three other items on the last line. So we have this suitcase, brown suitcase, this red bag, and this red suitcase. So we need to check in which of these four options we need that B and C are not right. So we're left with A and D. On which of them we can see disorder, even if there are items in between them somehow. So, for example, here we can see the brown suitcase. It's behind the red suitcase, which doesn't match the order of measuring. So this is definitely not used anymore. So we're left with the one above. And here we should check and that indeed all the conditions are met, meaning the relative order between each country. So how does this relate now to computational thinking for computers? So I put here some of the main aspects. So in terms of computational thinking, we have here an algorithmic thinking in order to analyze all the possibilities of sequences. So we have to look about this particular relative order and do exactly what I explained earlier. So that's the main process of thinking about how we go over these possible options. If they follow this particular check, then they have to do the same with the same counter and then with the third counter. So they do this iteratively. And in terms of computer science, what they've been doing here, although they didn't realize or it was not, as I mentioned, needed or necessary to know this in advance, is to implement a sort of queue. And also it's related to the concept of first in, first out, because we have here one value that can be in the first one, and it's also going to be the first one of the two that goes in on the horizontal line. So that's why we have a first in, first out data structure here. And then there's also related to the concept of scheduler, because we don't know on the horizontal line exactly in which order they will appear, each of them. They can be in order, in any order, similar to how a process is scheduled to be run by an operating system. We don't know which of them is going to come in order, but we just have this conditional relative order between them. So there are all these concepts that are related to this task in a very, let's say, friendly manner for the students. Any questions on this task? Is it possible for you to see from there? Yes. Okay. If not, there are many seats here on the front row, just so you know. There are still a lot of places here in case someone wants to come with you. Okay. Here is another task also related to lists. Here we have teacher Ava conducting an online class from her phone. On her computer screen, you can see here the computer screen, Ava can see that there are 9 students, or the students here that are shown in different perspectives, who have joined her class. Emma, Maya, Bella, Lee, Ron, Anna, Diana, Ellis, and James. And it says that each of the 9 students is using a different computer in the school library. So they're in the same school library, but using different computers. And because the students are sitting next to each other in the library, Ava can also see on her screen who each student is sitting next to. Because on each of the small screens, we can see, for example, here Maya in the middle, but we also see half of the face of some other student on the left and half of the space of some other student on the right. Here we don't see someone anyone on the right, perhaps there's nobody on the right for this particular one. So she knows that all the students are sitting side by side in the library. And the question is, which of the 9 students is sitting in the middle of all the 9, meaning in the 5th position? So the question is already telling us that there are 9 students in total. And we would like, by looking at these pictures, to be able to determine the relative order of each of them in order that we can basically make the full order as they were sitting in the room in front of the computers. And here are the possible options, like Diana, Ron, Lee, Bella, and Han. So we need to look at them and see how can we deduct who is the fifth one. That's correct. Yes, it's correct. So one possible approach is just to take them, one by one and see, try to maybe push up the most on the left or the most on the right by looking, for example, here for Maya, we see there's no one in the right, so she'll go right, the one on the top right. Similarly, let's see, if we look here at James, we see there is no one on his left, so that means that probably he's the one on the top left. And then we can start from here. For example, from James, we can see there is this girl with the red hair on the right, and we see where is she? It's Emma here. So she's probably the second one. We look on the right of Emma, there is another girl here with the dark hair, and we see where is she? And she's here, she's Diana. So this is probably the third one. Diana on the right has a girl with some headphones, and we look, it's here, Lee. And we look, so this is the fourth one. And Lee on the right hand side has another girl with brown hair who is Hannah finally. So this one is the fifth one. And this is basically what is shown here about this approach. So we start with James. James is next to Emma, then we go to Emma, and then to the next one, and so on, until we get this complete list on the bottom. Now, in terms of computational thinking, here we can see that we are using some sort of algorithm by which we go student by student, trying to figure out who is the one sitting next to it. So we started with James, which was the one on the leftmost side, and then we figured out little by little until we ended up at the fifth student who was kind of here in the middle. And there was also some logical thinking because the student had to realize these facts. First of all, that if there's nobody on the left, then maybe that's the leftmost student, and then that he can go one by one until finding one. And in terms of computer science, this task can be very well linked with double linked lists because we can look at each student having a neighbor on the left and a neighbor on the right. So we can look either left side or the right side. So we are not specifically talking about linked lists, but what the student is doing, it's very easy then to understand how linked lists work, or if he is then to implement such a thing. I want to mention that many of these tasks are from the previous year, competitions of 2024. Some of them will be from 2023. So I did a selection from the tasks I consider the most relevant or most interesting from these past 2 years, so 2024, 2023. Amar, I think we also have those booklets from the past. Okay, so at the end, I think we have enough. We give one to each of them before between the break. So we'll try to give you a small booklet containing a selection of the tasks from the previous year, which contains also some of these answers that I'm showing here in the presentation. Okay, now let's move forward to another data structure, trees. These are quite common in Bebras tasks. So trees is another data structure that typically has a root node, like for example this one here, and then some child nodes. For example here, root node A has these two childs, B and C, and B has another two childs, D and E. And this is a very particular type of tree called the binary tree because each node only has two possible childs. But we can have arbitrary trees with arbitrary number of childs, and so there are many kinds of trees. This is just an example of them. And they are used in many applications, as you can see here. File systems, database decision-making algorithms, there's machine learning as well, and many other things. In sorting as well, as we see, so many other things. So here's a task that uses a tree. It's actually quite obvious that it's using an example, maybe too obvious this time. But here we have this sort of tournament. So today is the annual Bebras ball tournament. And there are 16 players that you can see here on the top, 16 players that will compete in 4 rounds in order to determine their overall rank from the 4th to the 16th place. So you can see here at the bottom, these balls here, maybe the text is not very clear, but basically this is the 1st place, this is the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, until the 16th place. And the idea is that all 16 players compete together in the 1st round, this one here, so on the top, and then they split in 2 groups. The winning 8 Bebras and the remaining loser, let's say, those that have lost. So they are split in 2 equal groups. So here we have the group that won at the 1st round, and here we have the group that lost at the first round. So we have an equal division in two. Then at the second round, we do the same. Between these 8 equal participants, we split in 2 groups. Again, the winners on the left and the losers on the right. And we do so again in the round 3 and then round 4 until we can have this division. So it's by going on the left, you can see the winners. So that's why we have on the most left side the first place. And on the right side, you can see every time who has been losing. So the one on the most right hand side is the last position. So the question is that we have one of the players called Noro in this Bebras tournament, and if Noro loses doing exactly 1 round, so he only lost 1 time, which are the possible runs for him? So among all of these runs, which are all the possible runs? There are many actually, not only one. Only lost once, yes. Only lost once, but he can be in many possible positions. Think about it. There are many positions that can be by losing just once. Okay, so coming to the task, I think there's no maybe too much time to think about it. I apologize for that. So the main idea is that there are actually many approaches to solving this task. This is quite an interesting task. There is not just a single approach. So let's here we have the correct answers. It's a 9th, 5th, 3rd, and 2nd. And so there are 4 possible answers. And there are several ways to get to this solution. So you can see here the computational thinking skills that are involved. One of them is evaluation. You can check all the possibilities. So for example, think about each position. To get on that position, how many times you lose? So for example, you get the first position, let's say you go to the first position, how many times you lose? I lose 0 times. That means that's not a correct question. Okay, for the second position, how many times I lose? Okay, I lose only once. Okay, so this is a possibility. Then I look at the third position. How do I get to the third position? Well, here I'm winning, here I'm losing one time, here I'm winning, here I'm winning. So maybe it's also good one. So we see that also the third position is a good one. Look at the fourth position. How do I get the fourth position? Well, I lose here 1 time, I lose here 1 time, so I lost 2 times. So this is not good. And so on. So you try all of them until you are left with these 4 answers. So this is an exhaustive solution, but it's one possibility. Okay, so one could do this approach. Another approach, very better, is to do a sort of abstraction of this task and see, okay, what is the main idea if you look at this? We have here a sort of structure. So the student now has to think about this structure, the baseline structure. There are some levels. If I lose 1 time, that means that I only lose at 1 level. So I have to look at the levels. Okay, at which level can I lose together? So it means that I can lose either at first level or at second level, third level, but I can lose at 2 levels. And this is a faster approach to get the solution. So if I lose at first level, then I can go directly on the left, and then I know that I have to win each level. So that means that I have to go this. Sorry, I lost here, I have to go this, and this is the ninth position. So I got to the right. Then if I lose only at the second level, then I have some options. So if I lose only at the second, that means at the first level I had to win. That means I'm on this side, and I lost at this level, meaning that I go here and then I win, so I'm in the 5th position. And so on. And so I go by levels. And this is a faster approach because I don't have to search one path towards the solution. But again, I can find all the 4 possible solutions. And then there's also sort of generalization. This is quite interesting. It's let's say quite advanced. It's interesting how many students will do this generalization approach. And you can think of this task as a sort of binary representation. We could look at this as a binary tree and saying that if you win the state, you are on the 0 side. Say this is 0. If you win, this is 1. Again, if you win, this is 0, this is 1. Here is 0, 1, 0, 1, and so on. So we can look at these positions in terms of binary representations of a 4-digit number, with each position being 0 or 1. And then you can have only one single one. So you have the 4 possibilities, either 1, 0, 0, 0, or 0, 1, 0, 0, or 0, 0, 1, 0, or 0, 0, 0, 1. And if you think about these numbers, which numbers are these? So 1000 invited, take the see from right to left, it's number one. Or let's take the other way around, from left to right. 1000 is number 8. Then 0100 is number 5. 0010 is number 2. And 0001 is number 1. And we got this position. Basically, we're adding 1 because we don't start from 0. We have to add 1 just to compensate for the fact that we are starting position from 1 and not from 0. So adding 1 to the positions I just mentioned, yes, you get this. Instead of 1, 2, 4, and 8, you get 2, 3, 5, and 9. So sort of a binary representation also. This is a sort of more advanced way of thinking about it. Maybe not as soon as we think about that, but it also be a nice way to solve this task. So this is a nice example of a task that you can solve in many ways. So soon we get let's say a very complex task, quite a large aptitude of thinking during this task. In terms of computer science, this could be, of course, related to the concept of a decision tree or machine learning, where you can do all of these sort of decisions for many machine learning algorithms. Okay, questions so far? Now, another interesting topic that appears quite often in Bebras task is that of binary search. So, binary search, as you know, it's an efficient algorithm for finding an item in a sorted list. So we expect that we have a list that has been previously sorted somehow, and then we do a sort of divide and conquer approach where we repeatedly divide. We search the middle of the vector, and then if this is the element we wanted, we are done. Otherwise, if what we are looking for is more than that, we repeat the search into the first half. Otherwise, we look into the second half. And we do this recursively until we find the element we want, or otherwise we just say that we couldn't find it. So here's a task that is related to binary search in a very graphical manner. So we have here Captain Boris looking for a hidden treasure on an island. The captain has a map that shows where the treasure is. We can see here, this map. And this map is divided into 16 regions, each marked with a letter from A to B. So we have here on the top left, region A, then region B, region C, region D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. So these are the 16 regions that we have here open. And we are told that this Captain Boris can enter any number of regions into a special device, so that special device, in which he can enter these letters, whichever letters he wants, and the device will tell him if the treasure is in one of those regions that he entered or not. So a group of regions. So he could enter only one, or he could enter 2 of them, or 3 or 4, or all the regions if he wanted. And of course, if he enters all the regions, it's not going to be very useful because we know that the treasure is in all the regions. So just entering all the regions makes no sense. So this device will tell him if the treasure is in one of these regions or not. For example, if the device shows yes for regions A plus C plus D, we know that treasure is either region A, region C, or region D. And the question is, what is the least number of times that the Captain Boris would need to use the device to ensure that he will always find the treasure? So, what is the least number of times that we are guaranteed that after asking this device this number of times if the treasure is there, we can find the treasure? How many regions? As many as you want. We say there is no specification. You can enter as many regions as you want in the device, even all the regions if you want. But I mentioned earlier that entering all the regions is not going to give any help, because we know that the treasure is somewhere inside. So we need to find what is the least number of times so that we can ensure that we always find the treasure. So I gave you already a hint, but the students didn't know that it's about binary search. So this is because we are in the topic of binary search. 8. 8 we already had. Someone says 2? No, very optimistic. maybe too optimistic, somewhere in the middle between 8 and 2. Let's see. So the correct answer is 4. You're close by. Who says 5? It was very close. The idea is the following, that we should apply this binary search algorithm to this model by using a special device. And you can see here how we go about it. The best strategy is to use undoing half of the regions. Let's say, as you can see here on the bottom, we give, for example, the top half of the regions to the device, and we see whether the treasure is there or not. Let's say the treasure is not there, so we get a negative answer. That's why we get, let's say, the dark red here. So we know the treasure is not on the top 8 regions. So now we are only left with 8 regions to look for, the bottom 8. Now again, we divide the bottom 8 into 2 groups, and we ask for the right side of this 8 groups, meaning these 4 groups on the bottom right. So this is the second query we make. And let's say the query is not there again, so it's red. So this was the second query. So we are left only with these 4 regions. And again, we divide these 4 regions in 2 and 2, and we make a query on the right hand side, and we ask if it's there. And again, it's not there. So we are left with these 2 regions, and we make a last query on one of them. Let's say on this one, on the bottom left, and it's not there either. So we are left with this region, which we know it must be there. So this was one example in which we kept asking about regions, and every time we got a negative answer until we were left with a single region, which was clearly the one that we expect the treasure to be there. We could have found the region earlier than that. For example, if the region, well, okay. Yeah, this is about the number of times. If we allow this strategy, this is the number of times we have to ask. Okay, so once divide in 2, twice to further divide in 2, and we are left with 4. Another time we are left with 2, and finally we are left with 1. So we need to ask 4 times to ensure that we find it. Of course, we could be lucky, just easily number I, yes it is. Okay, so it's just once. But that's a very lucky guess. And it will not ensure that we find it every time. Because every time I hide it here, and you go for I, and it's not there. And then you go and you need to ask for it. So that's not an efficient strategy. But this is a guaranteed strategy that we're going to find the treasure within 4 queries of this device. And it's a way of applying this binary search algorithm to this particular structure. Because every time we divided our search space into 2. At the beginning, we had all the 16 regions, then we divided and we're left only with 8 regions, then with 4 regions, then with 2, and finally with a single region. So this is a quite nice task for students to deal with these sort of problems, thinking about how they can do this. They get to think, what is the optimal? When do you think, okay, we go for 1 region, it's not so good. What about I do 2 or I do 3? They will have to think about it until they come to the solution. It may be it's not going to be trivial for them to arrive to the solution, but by thinking about it, some of them will arrive to the solution. This will make them think about this problem in terms of this sort of decomposition skills, so these computational thinking skills. And of course, this is very related, as I mentioned already, to binary search and divide and conquer strategy. Yes. So these tasks, how are the students going to prepare? Yes, that's the question. So you have these questions already on your tag. You have all the past competitions. So you as a teacher have the possibility to show them this in advance, and they can prepare by looking at previous tasks. They can already think about that. But we do not require, as I mentioned in the presentation, we do not require previous knowledge. So it's not expected, but of course, someone that has been doing all the previous tasks from Bebras is clearly better prepared than someone that has never seen this sound before. Because sometimes, although it's also important to know that these tasks are always different. So even if you've seen this task that is about binary search, next year you're not going to see this task, another one. But maybe there will be similar concepts, but you as a student are not sure maybe if this is the best approach or someone. You still need to think about it. But of course, the fact that you've seen this task and that you've seen the solution that you have to apply this, it will help. Yes. So that's why I gave you all this tasks we have since 2016 until present, I think, on that link. Well, what about sorting? So, as we know, there are many sorting algorithms, like the simple ones, like bubble sort, which is highly inefficient, also simple, like we explained. Merge sort, which is more efficient, and quick sort, which is generally fast. On the average case, we have this endogen complexity. And many tasks across Bebras are related to sorting one way or another. So here I chose one which I thought was quite interesting, at least from the graphic perspective. So here the task is very simple. Well, this is a question. It just says sort the Bebras in ascending order according to their height. So we just need to look at the height. So the question is, in what sequence will the Bebras stand if they are arranged in a way that the Bebras to the right have taller hats than Bebras to the left? So we need to sort them according to the hat's height. And we have here some labels for each beaver, A, B, C, D, E, and the question is to decide between these four possibilities, which is the right one. So this is the easy side of the task in the diagrams. But the students still need to think about how to approach this task. Answer is B. Well, again, sort the beavers in ascending order according to their hat's height. So we need to look at the hats. Very, very important. Yes, so then it's A immediately. So that's correct. So we can see here the solution, and the main idea is that the students have to realize that we don't care about the height of the beaver, which on purpose was done such that it's confusing. So if you look at the previous one, it's quite confusing that indeed this one seems the shorter, so then you see that it's the BEVX here, so we look at the beaver height, but we don't care about the beaver height, we just care about the hat height. So that's the tricky part in this question. So that's the first thing that the student needs to do. He needs to realize that, okay, just to look at the height. I don't care about the height anymore. So sometimes we have some decomposition involved, but we need to do this. He needs to do some abstractization and he needs to do some argument thinking. Okay, what is the argument to sort them? You know, I put them this one on the left, this one on the right. So how do I go about it? And of course, this is related to sorting, and this is the answer to that question. So once you sort of realize that, okay, I just have to focus on the hats, just look at the hats, then it's quite easy. The student just has to focus a little bit on what the question was asked. Now, about the graphs. So here, these graphs are quite used also in various tasks, typically for the more difficult tasks also, although I will show you in a moment quite an easy one. Graphs, as you know, there are some data structures where we have some nodes, like A, B, C, D here, and some connections among them. This is quite well connected graph. There are some graphs that are less connected, some that are fully connected. They were also linked here and here. So there are many things, and there are also many algorithms on these graphs. Like for example, computing shortest distances, like using Dijkstra or some breadth first search algorithm in these graphs, and many other algorithms like mass flow, also for example, to see the capacity among the graph, and many other algorithms that are generally used within the various tasks, some way or another, going from easy tasks to very difficult tasks. Here I put one, say, more easy task, just to get an example. Here we have this sort of map, and we are told that there are 4 animals that are set on a journey. You can see them here on the left. There is a small lion, there's an elephant, there is a sort of scorpion here, and there's a monkey at the bottom. And this map shows the journey as they go from left to right. And there is a line here going from its initial location, so on the left, to its final location here on the right. However, unfortunately, the middle section of the map went missing. So this is not given to us. And then the question is, which of these 4 possibilities here could be the missing portion of the map? So which of these 4 would be the one doing the right connections of the animal, such that the line, for example, that starts from the lion, then ends up again with the lion, or the tiger, sorry, it's a tiger. Okay. And so on for each of the animals. indeed, you can see here, for example, for the monkey, that needs to go over there. So it's indeed this one. You can see here that from the top, you need to go to the second one. That's here in D. Then, for example, for the tiger, it needs to go from the second connection to the third connection, which is happening here as well. Then, for the elephant, which is the third here at the beginning of the missing part, it goes all the way to the top to go to the elephant. So it happens here. The scorpion, it goes down, but then it goes up to him again. So it's just a straight line. The reversal. So this is quite an easy task for students, but they don't have to think too much about it. It's just about following some lines. But it involves some computational thinking and pattern recognition. They have to recognize some patterns from the left and from the right to think about how to map them. And in terms of computer science, it refers quite strongly to the concept of a bipartite graph, where we have nodes from one side totally unconnected between them and only connected through the nodes on the right. So nodes on one side can only connect with nodes on another side. So this is sort of representation of what we have here and how we can connect this task this particular. Now, one final task before we take a break. It's about algorithms. So this concept of algorithms, I took broadly many concepts that are found in Bebras task, where the student is required to follow a certain set of let's say sequences, or he has to think about some constraints and about some solutions for a problem in an algorithmical way. It has to go very step by step, or he has to think, okay, if I do this, what happens then? If I do this, then what happens then? So sort of algorithmical thinking. And typically, we care about time, space, complexity. So I don't think Bebras tasks that are really programming, sometimes we also put this in terms of what is the more efficient or the shortest, the smallest, the most something. So there is something of this kind. So here is one of the tasks, which is quite an interesting one. And basically here we have this sort of map that you can see here on the left, where there is a beaver with his bicycle, and there's a starting position. There is then some other middle position here, another middle position here, and here there is a cell station. So here there is another middle position, and here again another cell station. So, and this is an electrical bike which can be charged at these cell positions. So it says here that the one block below that the addressing that the user is about to close, the little beaver thing is hopping on his electric bike, it is going to exit, so this end position. So he wants to get there as fast as possible. However, there are some conditions, and it says here that the map below shows this amusing part, and there are two types of path sections. This text I apologize is not very readable, but I'm going to read it to you. So basically, there are two types of paths. There are blue paths, as you can see them here on the picture, and there are red paths. So two types of paths. Now, there is a difference in between them, as I will explain in a moment. And furthermore, he can charge the battery cell of his electrical bike at this cell position that I explained earlier. So these are the sort of conditions that we have two different paths, a blue path and a red path, and there are also some points where you can recharge the cell battery. Now, here there are some additional information. First of all, the fact that if I am on the blue path, I can traverse this blue path in 20 seconds by using 5% of the cell battery, or I can take only 10 seconds by using twice the energy, meaning 10% of the cell battery. So we have some possibilities, either going faster or slower. If I go faster, I consume more energy. If I go slower, I consume less energy. Similar as the car, if you go on the motorway, 100 kilometers per hour, you consume some gas. If you go by just 80 kilometers per hour, you consume less. And similarly, on the red path, we have some different constraints on the same sort. So if we take the slow approach, we take 40 seconds, so we see it's double as on the blue side, and we take 10% of the energy. And if we go faster on the red section, it still takes 20 seconds, but this is half as before, and I need 20%. So the red section is more difficult to go through. It requires more energy and it takes more time. So then it says here that this information that I told you just right now, that we have these slow and fast motions, and that there is another interesting notion that it cannot switch these modes between slow and fast during the fast section. So between two of these points, these small circles here, once I've chosen going fast or slow, I have to stay on that mode until I go to the next point. So between this and this. So if I choose slow, I go slow all this fast. If I choose fast, I go fast. But then at the end of a section, so once I reach one of these dots or the cell, for example, I can switch the mode and go to the other mode, like fast or slow or something. And then the question is the following. Okay, so the question is the following. If this bike is charged by 20% when he starts, so here at the point start, he has 20% of the battery. And he has to reach the end, the exit, meaning this end, before the power runs out. He has to make sure that he has energy to reach the end point. How many seconds does need at least need to reach the exit? So what is the minimum number of seconds that we require to arrive to the exit? So he can choose between these options. So on the blue path, he can go slow or fast. On the red path, again, he can go low or fast. But what is important is that we reach the end, meaning that we don't run out of energy on the cells before reaching the end. So let us think about this. This is quite an interesting problem. So let's start. Let's see. If we go from the start, the first part, let's say we go at full speed, then we're going to use here, if we go for all the paths, all three paths at full speed, we're going to use 10% at each path, right? Meaning that we are not going to reach to the cell because we need 20%. So we cannot go full speed, that's for sure. What we could do is go one full speed and then two slow speeds. And then we are there at the end of the energy, just at the end. Right? So we can go one at full speed and two at slow speed. So we are at the cell. And then we recharge. And then we have again 20%. So now we have a red one and then another blue one before the cell. So on this red one, if we go at full speed, we're going to use all the 20% that we just received and we're going to stop. So we cannot arrive to the other one. So we cannot go full speed. So we need to go slow speed here. We need to go to slow speed here. And then on the blue one, we can go fast speed. Because on this one, by slow speed, we use 10%. And here on the blue one, we can go fast speed, again 10%. And it's fine because we reached again the cell. And then finally, we have another red one. And then comes the cell again. Meaning that on this red one, we can go by fast full speed because we get 20% for the last cell. And finally, on the last one, we can go, of course, by fast speed because it's just the end. And so this will be one of the most optimal ways to go about it. And what I told you is just a sort of greedy algorithm. I just tried step by step to optimize it. I didn't think about the full solution or trying to see if I do here some more engineering things like I go on slow and get 5%. So this thing, it was not so, let's say, I didn't take too much to see what happened afterwards. I was just looking at the first, how can I optimize the thing until the first step. So by doing this approach, let's see what will be the time by this thing. So by doing two of them in slow motion and one full speed, that would mean we take here 2 times 20 seconds, meaning 40 seconds, plus 10 seconds, so 50 seconds for the first step. On the second part, we said that for this one, we have to go slow. So slow meaning another 40 seconds. We are at 90 already. And another one at full speed here, 10 seconds. So this is 100 so far, yes? All right. So here we have another red path, which we can take at full speed in the 20 seconds. So 120. And finally, we can take this last one again at fast speed, more 10 seconds. So 100 seconds. So so I think here we have basically this calculation in this step in the flow dimension. So one will pass in fast and two in slow, and then this calculation here, then the 40, and then we have
one red path in low mode and the blue path in fast mode. So again, this is another 50, and then the red path in fast mode and the last path in fast mode. So this probably puts a lot of things interesting. For some of that's probably the composition, we have to look on segments, about it, how to solve each part of the time. And then we also start doing things, like what happens on if I apply short. So this is next optimization, how to optimize this energy consumption under the goal that which there as fast as possible. So this is some of the tasks Bebras on these topics that we forward. Any questions on this task? Was it clear? Right. Amar, are you ready for the coffee break? In 5 minutes. Okay. Well, I think I'll stop here anyway. They've put it. So now, after the coffee break, I still have to do some tricks on my slides. We're going to look at these other aspects of computing, communications, electronics, computer vision, security, and machine learning in Bebras tasks. So sort of more of the advanced aspects of that are related with Bebras.